This is Tell Me What to Read, powered by Booktopia. I'm Nick Wasiliev, and once again, I am back in the podcast studio here at Booktopia HQ. And today we have, I want to call it a homecoming of sorts, because I'm joined by a Booktopia favourite. You know her, of course, as the host of Words and Nerds, and now she's an author of her new book, My Extraordinary Mum. And I'm especially excited because we have done so many podcasts, but this is the first time we're actually doing it live. Hello, Dani Vee.
Hi, Nick. It's so cool to be here. We've been at home recording all these times, and I've always said to you, always threatened, I'm coming in one day. One day I'm coming into Booktopia, and I never actually knew if that would actually happen. And here I am, sitting 1.5 metres away from you.
We've done the tour. We did a tour of showing you around, showing you the Booktopia robots. You've signed copies of your book.
I know, it's been just like the best day ever, seriously.
Oh, shucks.
It's like Disneyland.
Oh, well, you're very welcome.
Maybe better.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And also, first of all, congratulations. I get to say, look, been in your position before. It's very nice to finally have a book out there in the world. How does it feel?
It kind of feels like a lot of hard work, great hard work, but a lot of hard work, which, I'm enjoying. But there's always the next thing, until I walked into the Booktopia room today. And
stop it.
No, I'm serious. There were 250 books. I'd never seen that many copies of my books in one spot before, and they were ready for me to sign, and they were all beautifully presented on this table that has been signed by amazing people. That on the wall there's images of Tim Winton and Matthew Riley, and I nearly walked out and went, I don't belong here, Nick. What are you doing?
Oh, you definitely belong here. Absolutely.
So this was a really special moment to just be able to spend a bit of time actually celebrating the book.
Yeah.
Because it is I love the hard work that goes behind all the publicity, marketing, editing, writing, rewriting, but I think the small moments we actually get to celebrate are like, wow, oh wow. And so I had one of those moments today.
I'm so glad. Well, it was so nice to have you here in signing books and also just like celebrate how lovely and beautiful this book is and how cute it is. And it's the celebration of exciting mums kind of smashing stereotypes with this book. But I do want to ask one question, of course, because a lot of our listeners will know you, of course, from Words and Nerds, and I feel like I'm lucky in this position. I get to ask someone who's kind of been in a similar position to me. You've obviously been doing podcasts for a while, and then, you've chatted to a lot of authors, heard about a lot of different processes. I'm imagining it would be very different, to hearing what their processes are, and then all of a sudden, here you are doing your own book. Do you how does it compare to hearing about it, in your podcast and then actually doing it yourself?
Yeah, hearing about it is always very inspirational, but you're always sort of on the other side. You're the podcaster, you're asking the questions, you're in control of what happens during the interview mostly. And being on the other side, I guess, is so much unknown. Apart from being an interviewee and you don't know where the interview is going, and you're trying to listen very carefully and sound relatively intelligent and interesting, which is really hard. But then for doing the writing, I think it's twofold. I think I had to get over the point of, how could I have anything to contribute after I've spoken to Jackie French and Elliot Perlman and all these amazing literary people? Like, what could I possibly have to contribute? And so I think it's not about, you cannot compare yourself in any form of your life with anybody else. It's about, whatever you can bring to the table. And so I think once you get past that, you'll never get past the self-doubt as a creative, never.
Yeah.
But I think in a way I've tried to use that self-doubt to make the work better, because I think I'd much rather have self-doubt than go, oh no, this story's perfect first draft. So
it never is.
But I think the self-doubt sort of makes you make it better.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. As long as you don't slip over the other side of self-doubt, which is paralysis, and you don't do anything. As long as you stand that knife's edge of going, no, my self-doubt is because I know I can do better, or it should be better, or I can improve that. But yeah, it's kind of surreal being on the other side. Obviously, as you know, as a podcaster, author, there's a lot of work behind it that probably you don't see on Instagram. Yeah. And so there's that kind of, yes, I've thought day and night about this, but then there's the other thought of, wow, how did this happen?
Yeah, because the book goes out and it has a life of its own.
Yeah,
you're about to experience this. You'll see the book will go out and do and be in bookstores, and people will be talking about it, and you'll be like, who's spoken about this book? Who's read this book? Where has this book gone? It'll be surprising. I actually have one funny question. What is one misconception people people often miss about the writing process. And I especially want to ask you because kids' books,
Yeah.
you have to work, in tandem with the illustrator
Yeah.
and complement and make sure that what you have written is being complemented by the illustrations around it. So it's a much more collaborative process.
I think, and I don't know if this is a misconception, but it was certainly something I learned through the publishing, particularly with a picture book. I think there might be the idea that writing 250 to 500 words, like how hard can it be?
Yeah.
Turns out it's very hard.
Oh.
Turns out any form of writing is hard, right? Except maybe a shopping list. But so I think I really appreciated how much thought, effort and time that Larrikin House spent with this story. And that's what I really appreciated because I actually don't know how many words exactly it is, but it's somewhere between 250 and 500. And I really appreciated, going through the edits with Crystal and then James throwing in his ideas and Mary putting in the illustrator. It was like everyone just cared so much about this book and we all wanted to put time in it because we shared the vision of what it would be. And that's what you see today, like this. And that's another thing that I think people might miss is they see the author and the illustrator, but they don't see, and it's probably our job to do that, what went behind it, the work that Mary, James and Crystal did to make that book a possibility, and it's almost a shame that all our names can't be on the front because it's such a collaborative, process. And I think, I really liked when people said, you just got to spruik your own book, you need to be proud of it, because there's this whole thing about whether you do that or not. And I think you almost owe it to those people who put money behind it, belief behind it, time and love and energy behind it to celebrate your book, to help celebrate all those people who put their energy into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, I completely agree. It is such a weird feeling when you see your own name on the front of a book and you're like, this isn't just me.
I feel like a fraud.
Yeah, you do, because you've seen all the designers who've put amazing work into making it look amazing, all the copy editors, all the type editors who've made every page look amazing, and you're like, it's just my name on it? This
doesn't seem fair.
It's such a strange feeling. But no, it absolutely, and I think it's I love that you're bringing this up and talking about the absolute collaborative nature of books, because the product that you see in your final hand is of course, your name's on it and you've written this thing and the illustrator's done fantastic work as well, but the whole team effort that actually goes into creating a piece of entertainment, a piece of experience is something that I think is so invaluable.
And I don't know if you can see it when you pick up the book, maybe it's just me, but I can feel that energy when I pick that book up. I can feel everybody's energy in it because it is quite an energetic, colourful book.
Yeah.
And I just, whenever I pick it up, I'm like, I feel all that energy that's gone into it to create that, piece of art, which is cool.
It is cool. Tell us a little bit about the book. I feel like we've just been looking about the whole process. Tell us what exactly, for all of our listeners, is My Extraordinary Mum about?
My Extraordinary Mum is about a mum and her child who go on all these adventures. They go on a road trip without a map. They discover that mum has tattoos all over her arms, so she's a canvas. And they do yoga on the mountains. She brings in all these animals. It's about community. It's just about breaking stereotypes and, being an engaged, loving, thoughtful mother, but also being a woman who has leaned and reclaimed her own identity and shares that with her child, so her child knows that she too can be whoever she wants. So it's about individuality. It's about reclaiming your identity after motherhood, which is often a really tricky thing to do, because I think so often in society we are mother of two, mother of three.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on, I'm kind of a few other things as well.
Yeah, and how it's often really put on women.
Yeah.
That your entire identity is framed around your kids, which kind of sucks.
And look, being a mother is one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had, and I love my children, but I think I wanted to show them as well that, we are all more than a sum of that part.
Correct.
We're all different things, and I really wanted to show my kids that whoever it is that you become, as long as you're a good person, that is amazing. Be that person.
Yeah.
Lean into whoever you want to be and whatever you want to do. And I think the book, sparks that as well. And it was kind of a bit of a lean into, my own, I want to say experience, but it is a struggle with anxiety. And there is a page there that, says you don't have to go rock climbing and rollerblading to be extraordinary. Sometimes it's that emotional intelligence of going, today we all need to stay at home in our pajamas and eat chocolate cake.
Yeah.
So extraordinary isn't just climbing rocks. Extraordinary is just tapping into who you are and what you need to fulfill you on that particular day.
Is that the key thing that, like, I always often like to ask authors, like, there's such a cliched question to say, like, what do you want readers to get out of it? And whenever I hear that, I'm like, well, go read the book and find out for yourself. The thing I love asking authors is, what did it teach you? Is that the kind of key message that this process, this experience taught you from having like sat down and put it to page?
I like that question. I think it was always something that I was really frustrated about, seeing the stereotypes and the dominant narratives of mums and single mums and, ageing women as well.
Yeah.
I've heard lots of stories, from women in their 50s and 60s saying that, now they feel invisible. And so I think it's starting conversations about that and starting conversations with your kids at their level about that. And, so I think the conversation about women in many forms needs to still, take up a lot of space. And I think reclaiming your identity after parenthood and as well as just being your unique self and doing that unapologetically. I think we've all been in a space where we've known someone who doesn't quite like our vibe.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We don't have to love each other's vibes, but you don't need that person in your life.
Exactly.
And so I think you then gravitate to the people who do get your vibe and who you get their vibe. And that's what happiness is. So I just think you need to lean into whoever it is you are, push back against those people who say you can't do that, and just be unapologetically yourself.
Yeah, I hope that because I've started to notice this with some books that have come out, whenever there's like a trend or an interest which is growing, when you're talking about this stuff, it automatically makes me think of books that have come out this year, like This Is Not a Book About Benedict Cumberbatch, which was all about, like this, when I heard about this book, I just was like, oh my God, this book needs to be out there because, I see the women in my life, like, my aunts and my mum and stuff like that, and how they've often, that identity issue or not feeling listened to and not being able to claim being themselves it was something that it always really angered me that they couldn't feel like they could express themselves. It's not the fact that there's, that they're being, it's not just that they're being told not to, it's just they have got to the point where they don't feel like they can themselves.
Right. And you don't need permission to do that, but I think over history, particularly with women and, the repression, etc. that we've had, and the resurgence and surgence of feminism, I think, we don't need permission anymore to be heard. Everyone's valuable. We should all just be able to be ourselves, because how much better does it feel when you can, when you're with your friends, particularly the ones that you've grown up with, who've known all the versions of you since kids, and you can just be your complete self, and you feel so comfortable, and then, that's different to maybe someone you've met at work yesterday.
Exactly, and you don't have to put like fronts up in front of them.
Like how does that feel? That feels so good, right?
Yeah, and I hope that this discussion continues, because it would be nice to see, a day, because we often, we can celebrate people at every stage of their life.
Absolutely.
Because human beings are complicated, human beings go through changes, and it's no longer a case of just, you have children and that's it, or you have, you get a house and that's it. We are continuously evolving creatures, and I think that should be celebrated at every stage.
Let's do it. Celebrate everything.
Celebrate everything. Let's talk Words and Nerds.
All right.
Because, you do Words and Nerds, by the way. Congratulations, 500 and something episodes.
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like, that is... I tip my hat to you. My creative podcasting hat is tipped strongly, because 500 words of content is a lot.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird 5 sort of moment, because this year will be 5 years in October since the podcast has been running, and then it was 500 episodes, and that month I'd hit 50,000 plays. So 5 was like a really special number.
There's a theme. There's a 5 theme.
I don't know what 5 means. I mean, I know 8's lucky in some cultures. I don't know what 5 means, but it's going to be lucky for us.
Powerful. I reckon it's like a powerful. What's the name of the phrase that you use when like you associate a color or a feeling with a particular number? It's like synesthesia, something like that.
Maybe.
We'll look it up afterwards online. Unfortunately, it's escaping me right now. But you've also got other multiple shows going on. In addition, like you mentioned in your chat with Sarah that you're kind of breaking off and doing less of the content now, which gives it a bit more versatility with the platform. What other shows have kind of been happening? I mean, there's Publishers Insiders and other shows as well.
Yeah, so that was a series that Adrian and I did. But as well as that, I've been getting people to do spin-offs. So people will come to me and they'll sort of pitch a spin-off, and they'll do that themselves. So RWR McDonald, he's been been doing the Queer Writers Sessions, and so he's talking to LGBTQ authors about their books, and I think that's a really important space to have. And then we've also got Ben Hobson, as we know, Beers, Books, Burgers, Beers and Books, whichever way he pronounces it at that time of day. We've got that. And that's just a beautifully relaxed, gorgeous chat. Like, I love that so much. And Lynn Yowett's got one coming out. Michael Wagner did one about writing. Craig Sisterson is also got one out where he talks about crime. And so it's really cool that these people can do these interviews. They don't need me to do them, and they just have a different vibe.
Yeah.
So they're all very different interviewers. Like, I love listening to Beers, Burgers and Books because I can't do that. Like, he's so relaxed. They're just like chilling out over schnitzel, and burgers and a beer, and it's just such a different vibe. So I feel like you've got all these different pieces of content that you can go to depending on your mood. And then I've got the takeovers. So those, Friday takeovers that an author will come to me and say, hey, can I interview this author? I'm like, yes, please do that. They're usually friends, so it's a great convo.
Yeah.
Or I've spoken to publicists and I've said, look, I just do not have time. My calendar's like chockers till the end of the year. Could you get your 3 authors together that you're wanting me to interview each other?
Yeah.
And that's been really cool. So they've given them a theme and they just talk about their work, and it's really cool.
I love that you're able to open up, to different pieces of content like that. I love that, I've talked with so many people about the podcasting space and how much it is growing, particularly, the book podcasting space. So I love that, people are now, looking at these podcast shows that are springing up everywhere and going, hey, like, check this out, or check the new approach that you have. And it enables you to view books and things that may have been seen as just a purely static object in a brand new way.
And I think podcasts are great because you can listen to them whenever you want to listen. They don't impose on your life.
Yeah.
You can be driving, you can be walking the dog, you can be walking, you can be baking a cake, whatever it is you're doing, you can just listen to it and it doesn't impact your life. And so I kind of don't mind how many episodes I put out because it's up to you if you want to listen to them.
Yeah,
right? You can listen to none or you can binge them all. And so that's what I like about podding. But I remember when I started, I think like 5% of people were tapping into podcasts. I think now it's nearly a 40.
Yeah, it's going to grow. It's going to keep going.
It's growing and growing. And the thing I love about it is just the convenience.
Yeah.
That's like anything like now, streaming TV, all those things. But I think it's really cool just to be able to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it or listen.
So what's up next? Like, you are a very busy person. You've got the book coming out, and I know that there's more books in the pipeline, and of course there's episode after episode happening with Words and Nerds. What's next for Dani Vee?
Yeah, look, I haven't planned too far ahead. I really do want to keep writing. I've got multi-book deal with Larrikin House, so I love doing that, and it's hard, but I love leaning into that. Podcast is just going to keep churning away. Like I said, I'm happy to sort of step back a tiny bit, but I'm quite addicted to it, so I'm still going to do it.
It's fun. It's really fun to do.
Addiction. But I love hearing the other episodes, and when I go to listen to them, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, it's a break from my voice, but it's also they're just a different approach, and I just love that conversations that, that's an unique conversation that couldn't have happened unless I, allowed them to do it. So it's cool. And I'm giving a junior fic a crack as well, which is really, really fun, but really, really hard.
Yep, I vibe. Writing fiction's hard. Look, you don't realise how terrifying either doing fiction or picture books are until you actually do it. Like, you say 400 words for My Extraordinary Mum, and I'm just like, oh my God, that would be terrifying. 400 words, but 400 of the right words.
Well, every word counts.
Exactly. Succinctness can often be can be terrifying.
And you've got to tell a whole story in a picture book. You've got to have characters, and you've got to have a story arc, and it's got to go somewhere, and you've got to do that in under 500 words. So that's the challenge.
It is the challenge. We're at that point in the show where we talk about books. Often with the show we like to talk about, we encourage our guests to bring in books that they've been reading and enjoying. And of course, you are no stranger to this. We have done this so many times over the many different forms that our podcast has taken. And I'm super excited that we are continuing the tradition of you bringing eight or nine in. How many? So what has Dani Vee been reading of late?
Well, and I smashed through my 8 because I bring too many, so I try and make them a little bit shorter. But I have loved Cross Crossbones by Chris Kennett and Jack Henslett. The cover is literally the most beautiful kidlit cover I've seen all year, I think. It's got this little, I don't know what you call it officially, I'm sorry, but there's a hole in the cover.
Yeah, like a cutout.
I'm sure there's a more official name for it. But the illustrations are amazing all the way through it. Actually, we're interviewing Chris soon, and I want to ask him how long those illos took, because it's an incredible body of work. Yeah. It is fun, it's engaging, and not only will kids love it, I seriously love picking this book up. You know when a book just feels nice?
Oh, yeah.
The pages feel nice, the front cover's nice, the little cutouts really cool.
It's the aesthetic as much as the story inside it.
I've got to say, the amount of times I've actually picked that book up just to touch it is ridiculous. So that's got to be number one on my list. The next one I'm really excited about that I have almost finished is What About Teo by Oliver Pomervan. I love how he puts kids who already don't fit in unfamiliar situations. And he often does that in his books, but always differently. And I think kids and adults, we can all relate to that. You know those times where you just don't feel like you're fitting into that place of wherever you are.
Oh, God, yeah. I love Oliver. Like, I ran into him once actually in Castle Hill, at the bookshop at Castle Hill, just by accident. And I had no idea who he was. And then getting the chance to chat with him and all of the stuff. He is amazing.
He is. And he's just such a huge supporter of kidlit. And look, the kidlit industry is amazing for encouragement and support of each other. But, if there's a book launch, you can guarantee that Oliver will be there cheering, his colleagues on, fellow writers
great.
on.
He is so great.
And this book's no exception, and I love his blend of really quirky humour with managing those serious issues as well. His characters are always likeable. With this book, throw in some slam poetry and seriously, what's not to like, right?
Nice.
Number 3, nearly there. Well, not nearly there, not even halfway, I'm lying. The Book of Wondrous Possibilities. I just love Deborah Bella. I think she's amazing. And, she's quirky and fun too. This is a magical story of adventure. And I really like the idea of a kid living in a rundown flat that is, of course, at the top of a bookshop. Of course it would be. And his life is turned upside down and he has to get out of his comfort zone and learn new things about himself, and it's that power of unlikely friendship as well. So I really like that idea, and I kind of like flipping from, those 3 very different books, pirates, and then, the kid who doesn't fit in, and then going to this adventure. So it's been really cool to flip through all those. Jacqueline Harvey, Willa and Wolf, she does nothing, like everything she writes is gold, just like this studio, right?
Yes, this beautiful gold studio. I love that we're continuing this joke into this show as well, from the last podcast.
Because I'm sitting in this golden studio made of gold, diamonds and rubies. It's really intimidating. I wish I'd not worn my pajamas. But Jacqueline Harvey can do no wrong. And this is gorgeous and wholesome. It's like one of those early chapter books, like not really early, but kind of one up from those really first ones. Yeah. Beautiful characters, sweet. It's about a missing pet. It's fun and adventurous. And I know that my 8-year-old daughter is just going to pick that up and just love it and probably, put it under a pillow. That's what she does with the books that she loves. Number 5. Now, this is a bit of a cheeky one because Adrian Beck, he wrote Furball, and it's not out yet, but I have a copy.
Oh, yeah, no, you can get away with this. This is okay.
You
can get away with this.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, look, I wasn't, I always break the rules and then ask forgiveness later. But anyway. But, for the adults, it's James Bond meets Garfield.
Oh, my God.
Right? But this cat is the greatest spy unless he gets distracted by napping or snacking. Now, I'm not sure if this is Adrian's autobiography, but it's fun. It's his debut as an illustrator. Did you know Adrian Beck can illustrate?
No.
Right? Neither did I. I consider Adrian, my brother from another mother. He's like, hey, look what I just illustrated. I'm like, what?
And you're just like, get out of here.
You did
Come on.
That? So it's his debut illustration as well as written book. It's action-packed, it's fun, it's silly, and kids will love it. And I love this deal. It's really close to my heart because I saw it in its really first editing drafts, and then I got to hold this book, and it's special. It feels really special, but it's going to be really fun too. Then let's head over to adults, shall we?
Yes.
The Crimson Thread, Kate Forsyth, number 6. Kate, oh my goodness, her writing just honestly takes my breath away every time I read her books. She writes this beautiful historical fiction about women, often forgotten women. This one's set in 1941 Germany, where a bloody 11-day battle this extraordinary woman saves these two men, and of course chaos happens. She has these impossible choices to make, and it's about courage and love and fear. And I always feel like whenever I read a Kate Forsyth book, I'm literally sucked into the pages.
She's extraordinary. Like, I've heard so many stories about her, like, because she's often been involved. She's very involved in the Sydney book scene, and,
Yep.
you know, she's often going from book club to book club and chatting with other authors and seeing what they're up to. She has got
Remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, every book that I've read of hers, I've literally fallen in love with.
Yeah.
And I still remember the characters, and I still remember, you know, how you visualise the houses or wherever you are in your head. I just think she has this extraordinary ability to bring these characters to life and just actually make you live in that world with
Yeah.
them. Like, I don't know that I've experienced that very much.
Shout out to Kate Forsyth.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 7, The Brink, Holden Shepherd. Look, from the first page, this book punches you in the face. And that's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, no, just wasn't expecting, like, whoa, okay.
And look, I'd expect nothing less from Holden. It's fierce, it's bold, it's raw, it's sad, it's beautiful. It's all of these things that Invisible Boys was and more, you know. And I remember reading Invisible Boys, and I remember not being able to put it down. I remember crying. It was so confronting and beautiful. And this is no exception. It's different, but he has that kind of writing style that is raw, that is sometimes tough to read, but it's beautiful, you know. And so I love it. Loved it. And number 8, let's bring this man up again, JP Pomare, who was in earlier signing books and just smashed the signatures. And I said, oh, give me the pen. I'll beat JP. I did not beat JP. In fact, I was very slow. Next time, JP. But anyway, you're not my nemesis, because I'm really looking forward to The Wrong Woman. I've started it, but it's more of a book I'm looking forward to. I love JP's work. I think he is extraordinary at building these really original worlds that you think, oh, why didn't I think of that? That's a great idea. You know, and he does these really original, quirky things with these incredible characters, has really great female characters as well. So just started the book, but I wanted to mention it because I just love JP's work, and I think he's just an extraordinary talent in that genre in Australia.
Love it. Ta-da! You know, it's you know, it always floors me whenever we've done it online. In person, it's even better. hearing the incredible book list that you've been.
See the enthusiasm frothing out of me.
We've got to unfortunately wrap this up soon, but before I do, we would like to finish the podcast with some funny bookish style questions.
I'm scared.
No, it's not. It's not book fight. It's not the podcast of old. It's fun questions.
I can't even say I've got technical difficulties because I'm sitting across from you.
Yeah, sorry.
Nick, I'm having technical difficulties.
So just turn up give it a... First question, what is the perfect idea of a night with a book for you?
I love this. Okay. I want to have my lounge room have candles.
Beautiful.
And I want to have lint balls.
Yep.
And I want to have a chamomile tea.
Yes.
I may also, I drink once every month. So maybe I'd have a vodka and soda that night as well in between my chamomile teas. I definitely have my pajamas on. Maybe some music that's not distracting so I can read my book. And a fellow human next to me who just wants that vibe as well. He can just sit in the, candle-lit dark, reading, eating chocolate, and just having a great time.
Nice.
So I don't get a lot of downtime, right, which is fine. I like that. But sometimes those moments are spectacular.
Love it. Great response. Your extraordinary mum. Sorry, my extraordinary mum, rather. We'll edit that out. My extraordinary mum, of course, lives up to the name over the course of the book, does some fun activities, gets up to some adventures. What is the one activity from that book that you have done or would like to do?
I always take my kids rock climbing and rollerblading. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you a funny thing that happened in December when I thought I was 13 again. And the kids like, do a trick, Mum. Because I was like an 80s roller girl, And I'm like, sure, I can do a trick. Turns out I couldn't do the trick. I fell. People actually came to my rescue because it was such an epic stack. I sprained my ankle like a 2nd-degree sprain, and I was in pain for 4 months.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's pretty extraordinary.
Well, I'm still proud of you for doing it.
Thank you. And I won't give up. And if they dare me again, I'll do it again. And they dare me. They're like, go in that race, Mum. I'm like, okay. It's always a mistake, but I'll always do it because I think it's important for your kids to see you in, different facets. Yes, have fun. Yes, be serious and brush your teeth. But also, let's go and have some fun. Also, here's a secret, Nick. The tattoo on Mum's arm, I've got that tattoo on my body.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I like
That was inspired by, because we're like, Mum's got to have tattoos. They're like, what kind of tattoos does she want? I'm like, what about this one?
What about this one? Love it. Fantasy or crime?
All crime for sure.
Nice. Like it.
Yeah.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction all the way. I'm a terrible non-fiction reader. I don't dislike them, but I just get lost in fiction. That I'm always drawn to fiction.
Love it. Love it. You get into a lift.
Oh God!
And
already I'm scared.
the person that you have always wanted to meet is in there. Who is it?
Wow. See, this is an interesting question because the person I always wanted to meet before I did the podcast was Elliot Perlman because he was my absolute favourite author. So I guess I'm going back in time and going, yeah, that was the person that I wanted to meet because it was my favourite author. And now it's so funny because you do the podcast and it's like you've met all these people.
Yeah.
It's like the bucket list is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. But, oh, wow, who would I really like to meet? Oh, they've put me right in it now, Nick. Cause
It can be living or dead. You can have some.
In that case, Oscar Wilde.
Oh, brilliant!
No competition.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then we would sit on the floor of the elevator and we'd drink absinthe and eat oysters and we'd talk about cool things because he has the best quotes. Oscar Wilde has the best.
He
quotes,
does.
Right?
He does. There must be a book out there.
There is.
There is a collect. Oh, there would be.
Nick, just so you know, I bought one from Booktopia.
Of course, you can go to booktopia.com.au and go to
Oscar Wilde quotes. They've got a few actually.
There is a couple of good ones out there.
May have bought two from Booktopia.
Who is one author you haven't interviewed yet on Words and Nerds, but who you'd like to interview?
Tim Winton. Cloud Street I taught to kids and we all just fell in love with it. And they still, honestly, 10 years later, they'll message me through Facebook and go, oh, I just read Cloud Street again. Like it just had this effect, this really profound effect on us. And, it was a really special moment, bonding with the teenagers over this book. And I just loved Cloud Street so much. And I've loved all of his work. I think he's a beautiful writer. He's a bit elusive, I think, a bit of a secret man.
Yeah.
I'd love to unpack that with him. May never get to, but that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I'll be hanging out for that episode the day that you get him.
Come along, have a party.
And the classic last question: you're stuck on a deserted island.
Ooh.
And while you await rescue, you get to take 3 books with you. What are the books that you take? And you can't have book series. So
No, that's fine. I wouldn't have a book series. I would definitely have The Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde.
Yep, of course.
Just for a bit of, when I'm in those dark moods and angry about being on the island, I'll read that to make myself feel better. Then I'd have a little bit of Jane Austen when I'm in a bit of a happier mood. I don't mind which one. I don't mind. I'm happy with any of the Jane Austen collection. And a third one, look, I'm just going to have to take 7 Types of Ambiguity by Elliot Perlman because it's been my favourite book forever. So...
I love it. I love that I was kind of terrified when asking you that question because I thought, oh, she's going to have no idea.
I'm going to have 8.
You're going to take 8 with you. Can't do that. Sorry.
And then I'd make a canoe out of them and, row my way out of there.
Love it. I love it. I can honestly talk to you forever, but unfortunately we have run out of time. Dani, thank you so much for coming on. Tell me what to read. It's been a pleasure chatting with you face to face.
I know. I love these episodes we do together. We always get wrapped up in, who we loved to read and the authors that we love, and we always get so enthusiastic. But to do this in the same room at Booktopia, sitting across from you is just so amazing. So thank you.
Here's to us hopefully doing it more in the future.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah. So for all of our listeners, you can get a copy of My Extraordinary Mum in the description. And of course, go and check out Words and Nerds, which I'll include a link to in the description. We'll actually be doing a special episode with Dani over there in Words and Nerds, which for all of our listeners, we're about to start recording right now. And where we'll discuss the books that we're most looking forward to for the remainder of 2022. And oh my God, there is a lot of books. If you've enjoyed our show today, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or a link on Spotify. Let us know what you think. And if you're enjoying our show, you can also subscribe to our channel and be notified whenever new episodes drop. Links are in the description. Thanks for listening, and never stop reading.